The rules that are given to the public by DFAS state that marriage only applies to underage dependent children. However, when a claim is made by an adult disabled child who happens to be married, the claim is denied. Let's look at the rules that are given to members of the public who purchase this SBP death benefit. We're looking at the website for the SBP here. It is dfas.mil/retired military /provide/SBP/coverage.html. And let's scroll down to the relevant section. It is spouse and children. And what we see is there are two categories. Under here, there are eligible dependent children and there are incapacitated and disabled children. Under the first category, eligible dependent children, we see unmarried. So marriage applies to that first category. The word marriage does not appear in this paragraph for the second category. Those are clearly two categories, and that is clearly applying to this one. Okay, now let's look at some notes or from correspondence from DFAS that was made, that was sent early in the claims process for a disabled person. And we see our records indicate that the retiree elected disabled child coverage. So that's a second and independent piece of evidence that DFAS considers disabled children to in fact be a separate category versus eligible dependent children up here. Furthermore, these are logically separate groups. There is a difference between being a child in the chronological sense and being a child in the biological sense. Childhood ends in the chronological sense when the person turns 18. However, a person continues to be the biological child of their parents for their entire life. Okay, going back to the eligibility criteria page, we indeed see that that logical difference is reflected in them making two different categories here. That's one category, that's another. So it's clearly a different category. But when a disabled beneficiary who happens to be married attempts to make a claim, the claim is denied, as we're going to see over here. Unless I get this mouse pointer to the right place. And here's a sample denial letter for someone who is married, an adult disabled person who is married, and they say, we received an application for annuity which stated that you are now married. If a child annuitant marries, then they are no longer eligible for the survivor benefit plan. They even made a typo here. Notice they say child annuitant, and they don't even put the word disabled in there, and I'm going to have more to say on that later. Suffice it to say, this is the standard denial that is sent out if the disabled person is married. Okay. DFAS maintains that the rule regarding marriage as it applies to adult disabled beneficiaries under the SBP is found in a document called DOD 7000-14-R. All right, back to another piece of correspondence from DFAS. For someone who's been denied in this way, once married, an incapacitated child is no longer eligible for SBP payments. Department of Defense 7000-14R Financial Management Regulation Volume 7B. So this is their correspondence on that subject, telling the person that that is the justification for the denial. So let's take a look at Department of Defense 7000-14R. We have it open in this window here, and we're going to go down to the relevant section, which I've already scrolled down to here. And let's just go back to they're saying, and it's G. All this 14R Financial Management Regulation 7B, Chapter 44, Section 440202G, which is right here. This is Chapter 44. Let's prove that. Okay, Chapter 44. And we're going to scroll down a bit until we get back to that G. There's a lot in here. It's a long, long document, as you can see. And let's get back to G here. I think I might have scrolled by it, but we will persevere until we get to it. There we go, there we go. Termination by marriage. This is in fact Chapter 44, Section 440202G. Termination by marriage. Child eligibility terminates by marriage of the child regardless of whether the child is an incapacitated child entering into a valid marriage with another incapacitated individual. They clearly thought this out quite a high level of detail, didn't they? Cut and dried. You lose. Okay? After I looked at this, I went to the top and I read a little bit through here, and we see A is also relevant. Child is an eligible beneficiary if they are one, unmarried, and unmarried and under the age of 18, B, at least 18 but under 22, etc. So it's pretty darn cut and dried and well thought out there. But now let's do a side-by-side comparison between that, which is what the disabled beneficiaries hit with after their parent or loved one is died, and what this public rule set states over here. We see that here we have two categories, here we don't, and under A, child is an eligible beneficiary, they're unmarried, and A, under age 18, B, at least age 18, C, incapable of self-support. So this indentation is flipped over here, and this one goes to the outside, and other things that are on the outside or categories unto themselves go in the inside of this category. Okay? So therefore, this is logically inconsistent with this. These are different. And let's go to my notes here. These are, well, just to reiterate the point, these are different because this one clearly says marriage applies to everyone, and this one clearly says marriage only applies to eligible dependent children. All right? Hence, the public rules given to retirees and potential beneficiaries are not correct. They are not correct in a very basic way. They clearly state that marriage does not apply to adult disabled beneficiaries, yet the internal Department of Defense accounting manual says they do. Note, a further video is going to go over this page in a little more detail because there's a lot more on it, and it's possible that marriage with, or how it relates to disabled folks, might be discussed somewhere else, or something might contradict or contravene this, or there might be a rider or addendum or something like that, which would have alerted us or anyone to this. Suffice it to say, there isn't. This is all that there is, and you can go to that other video to see a more detailed description of this page. Anyway, where are we here? Okay. Those of us who are aware of this problem would like you to think about how devastating it would be for a retiree to pay for, let's say, 30 years into a program so his or her disabled child could be cared for after their death, only to have the disabled child be denied the benefit when the parent is no longer around to protect and defend them. And the parent might have paid in for up to 30 years, which in one of the cases I'm looking at, that happened. The problem here is that the information that is provided by DFAS to the public regarding the eligibility is wrong. This is that information, and it's wrong. It's directly contradicted by this Department of Defense accounting manual, which you can find at comptroller.defense.gov//45/documents/volume_07b.pdf. And let's go over one little more point. This is the current webpage, which are the official rules given to the public for this program. It's here right now. You can look at it right now today. It's February 3rd, 2020. And at the same time, this on comptroller.defense.gov is where you can download this accounting manual, which is there right now today. So right now today, the accounting manual, which DFAS says is the determining factor in how this is evaluated, directly contradicts what they are telling the public over here on a very, very important matter. It's the eligibility of a disabled child to get a benefit that they paid for. And there are not very many examples of a more vulnerable human being than the disabled. So therefore, this is a bad, bad situation. In closing, we are eager to communicate with others who are affected by this or possibly affected by this, and to compare notes with us, you can go over to the Compare Notes page. Thank you for your attention.